Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin. Welcome back to the ESP32 product creation journey. Today, we're going to be what I call tasting the different options of unified provisioning. And I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan, for those that may or may not know him. Anyway, one of the things he talks about a lot that I totally believe in is you can't know the best things unless you taste them. Like, you have to try them. And so when in the example of like Internet of Things devices, when you are trying to decide how to handle a certain scenario or implement something, like the best way is like to taste it. Don't just say like, oh, well, this is an easy way to do it and I'll implement it. Like that ends up having you create a crappy product. And so something I was thinking about last night, and I'm well rested now, so I can have a more clear head to think about, is what I want the provisioning process to look like. And again, there's BLE, there's Soft-AP, and there's console, but I don't think console is what we think it is. And so in this video, I'm just gonna play with two, if not three, if the console really is another option, just to get a sense of like what it's like, how they work, and which one I would like to use for our product. And so just going through, you can't know unless you experience it all. And so that's what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is lock my door so one of my kids doesn't come storming in. Okay, so I cheated. I got started a little bit before I hit start on the stream. And so something I want to show is last night I was tired. I was too tired to stream. And that showed. So I apologize for that. I have now the updated unified provisioning sample code. I'm going to make this a little smaller, which has all this QR code handling stuff in it. And I left in the Soft-AP, and we're going to try the console as well and see how that goes. But what I did to start, so I left in all the if-defs and things like that. I'm starting with BLE, and right out of the gate, I noticed, so the QR code stuff is a unofficial component offered in the samples. Let me show it to you so you know where to find it. Not that, this one. If we come into the ESP IDF examples, there's a common components folder, and then there's a QR code component in there. And this is a simple QR code generator that will allow you to spit the QR code out on the console. So if you're connected to a console and you have console output, you can just, use the app has like a camera thing built in that tries to scan a QR code. Now, what I did just for fun, I changed the proof of possession. It used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, I believe. Just to mess around, I changed it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so in the provisioning output, when I went through the steps for this, it said, go to this URL, and it gives you the version v1, name, pop, and transport. When I try to scan this, the app says invalid QR code, which not off to a good start there. That means something's broken. I don't know if it's the app or if it's this QR code that was generated because I changed the proof of possession, but this did not work. And in the app, you can select like, I don't have a QR code, and it'll just ask you like, what's your proof of possession number? And I entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it finished provisioning. So it wasn't a blocker, but when the provisioning flow says, here's a URL, go to it, and then scan it with your phone, and then the phone's like, invalid QR code, that's not a good experience. So something is broken there. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to spend time to figure it out because I wouldn't have customers go to this ESP Jumpstart URL anyway, right? Like, that's not a flow I would create. But the out-of-box flow from Espressif does not work simply when I changed the proof of possession. And I don't know if it's just that, if I change it back, if that would work, but that's where we're at. So that is broken in some form. Okay, so I've wiped all of the, I've wiped the ESP32, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out BLE and uncomment Soft-AP. And remember, Sparky, good to have you back. just tasting the different unified provisioning options today. I just went through the BLE one, found a bug, I believe, in the expressive QR code generation stuff. And now we're going to try Soft-AP, and hopefully we're going to give the console one a whirl. I still don't think that's what we were thinking it was. So let's try Soft-AP. So one thing, actually, before we do that, let's take note of. You have to. Let's look at the size differences here. Wait for this to build, just so we can compare. So let's grab this. The BLE experience is still pretty slick. Let's grab all of them. See, let's get rid of all these. All right, and just so I don't forget, let's say something like BLE. Like that. Okay. And then we'll come down here and we'll call this Soft-AP, just so we can kind of have an idea. Great. Okay. So back over here in main, let's switch it now. And we'll plug that in. I erased it. Control Alt T. Flash and monitor. While it's doing that, let's come in here. Espressive has a, so here's the, let's go big. Here is the, hopefully, ESP BLE provisioning. It's an app I got from Google Play. They also have it on iOS. We're going to exit out of that. I also downloaded, there's an ESP Soft-AP provision app. So not the BLE version. And you'll notice up here in the corner, it says Soft-AP now. It's not going to focus, sorry. Anyway, it's very similar look, just a different different approach, Soft-AP. So let's come back to here. Okay, we're just about 96% done. We're looking down here. Okay. I don't know what this is or if that's a problem. But as you can see, it says provisioning started. Now, same thing. It gives you a QR code, and you can see the proof of, let's see if this has the same bug. So I'm going to copy this. And if you have the, I didn't include the QR code component because I didn't want to mess with it. If you have that compiled in, it would spit out, I'm pointing like as you can see, as if you could see my hand. It would spit out the QR code down here down here in the console output, and you could scan it from there. But let's go ahead and we'll copy it from here. And we'll come up to here and let's push it. Okay, now you can see the transport is Soft-AP and it's got our proof of possession. And then in the app, I'm going to click provision new device. And it's going to ask me, like, do you want to give it permission to use your camera? And I'll say allow. It says it wants to know the location. I hate that, but just so it doesn't break, I'll hit allow. I don't think it should need my location. And then it brings up the QR code scanner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know if you can see that message. Oh, it just faded away. It said QR code is invalid. And so, again, something in this process is broken out of the box. They've got a lot of nice things built up here, but something's, I can't provision with this. However, if I click provision new device, there is a I don't have a QR code down here. So I'm going to click that. And then it says, so let's go through the rest of the process. I'll read it to you. I should have had my overhead cam set up so you could see this. To provision your device, make sure it is turned on. Connect your mobile phone to the Wi-Fi network with a name like, and it gives me the name. So I'm just going to hit connect and see what it says. It takes me to my Wi-Fi settings. And I see the network, prov underscore whatever. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to disable auto reconnect. And I'm going to hit connect. It's saying checking the quality of your internet connection. it's going to say you don't have internet. I'm going to hit dismiss. And then, so like right now, I need to get back to my other app because now I'm in settings. So I just hit the little, at the very bottom on Android, there's like a back arrow key. That took me back to the app. Enter your proof of possession PIN. It defaults to the ABCD1234, but as we noticed, mine is 123456. It's very secure proof of possession code, 123456. I'm going to click next. And now this flow is exactly the same as it was before. It's showing every Wi-Fi network that's in range. I'm going to go ahead and select mine. I'm going to enter my password. Okay, and I'm going to hit go and provision. And let's come back to our output here. Okay, that's funny. I don't know why it got an IP address, creating new sessions, Wi-Fi credentials. Okay, and I'm getting hello world here, which means it is provisioned and should be connected to the internet. Okay, so I can click OK, and I'm assuming I'm back on my normal, yeah, I'm back on my normal network now. So still pretty smooth. That was a pretty smooth process. It does take you out, and again, in customer land, that's a little bit, just that little bit of difference of like, you're in the settings app now. I'm a technical person, so I understand exactly what's happening, but in doing just customer testing on this, anything that's not super obvious, somebody's going to mess up. So that worked. That worked okay. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, why isn't it letting me? Oh, there we go, because I had a space. Let's size that and compare it. So interesting. Not what I was expecting. This is why we do this. That is not that different at all. Where's this one right here? Here's the Soft-AP results. So we're talking 812 versus 962K. So, I mean, all right, it's over 100K, 150K, we'll call it, which is pretty big, but honestly not as big as I was thinking. I thought the size difference would be much, much bigger. Like half. So interesting. We're not as far apart as I thought we'd be. Okay. Let's go ahead and erase the flash. Okay. This may take a while. It doesn't really. It takes like 10 seconds. There it goes. 8.3 seconds. All right. Now, as the last part of this, let's see if we can get this console thing to work. I don't think it's going to. It was part of our scheme. Yeah, right here. So let's do this. Let's like copy this and say if the transport is console, let's use scheme console. And then like, well, this would be the same actually. We'd want none in the event that it's none. In the event that it's console, sorry. Nil or none. Okay, and then let's just find everywhere where this, well, let's just find everywhere where there's Soft-AP. So like, what would we do here? Yeah, let's add another one here. Oh well, yeah, else. No. We'll need to do elif. That, and then we'll add an else. This will be the console one. This is not production code. It's a hack. I recognize it, but it's okay. And we're going to call this console. And now we're going to need to define that. I know for sure because I saw it earlier. Way up here at the top. Console. Console. Okay, let's go back to looking through all of these. Okay. I don't really care about the Wi-Fi AP. Like, here's the bottom line. How are we going to get credentials onto this thing? I just don't feel like this is going to work. Like, I don't know what console is going to do for us. I still can't see it. I can't see it. Let's keep going down this path. What is this? Oh, this is the print QR. Yeah, okay. And then we'll add. Well, we'll come back and add that at the very end. I might need a. Yes, Sparky, like, is asking for those that watch this after the fact. Couldn't you make a quick function to generate a username and password? Yes, but I'm trying to use this like built-in unified provisioning thing that gives it to me out of the box. And so I'm just curious of what the console version of that is. And so I think I don't even know, this will be an interesting tell, is if we do console here, is there a scheme underscore console.h? It filled it in, so yeah, apparently there is. Okay. And then this is, if it's, yeah, we don't need to do that. Okay, I think that's all of them. I don't know. Like I said, this is why we're just messing around, see what we can learn and figure out. The last thing we need to do up here is we need to have comment that out, transport console, and Wi-Fi provisioning scheme console. Let's actually take a look at this really quick. So, no, not that. Let's do ls dev esp idf components. I think it's provisioning, Wi-Fi provisioning. Wait, it is Wi-Fi provisioning. Well, let's keep messing with it. Let's go into source. No, let's go into, well, yeah, let's go into source. And then there's scheme console. Scheme console. Let's see. We're going to hit Control A, which will take us back to the start of the line here, and we're going to do less. No, I hate it. Let's do something on my machine broke because I used to be able to say code. Oh, I still can. Here we go. Great. Let's just kind of look through the source code and see what we're talking about here. New config, delete config, set config, Wi-Fi scheme. I still don't see, like, what are we doing here? Like, this is not a lot of code at all. All right, let's just keep on keeping on. All right, let's just try and build this first, see what happens. There's no examples in the main docs either, is the thing. Well, it built. Okay. Okay. IDF.py size. Is significantly smaller. Okay, let's drop it into our thing here. All right, so now we're down to 781. So that's almost 200K smaller than BLE. Okay, and now, shoot, let's program it. See what we get. See what it does. I still have faith, I guess. Flash and monitor. Okay. All right, here we go. It's gonna program. And we'll see what we get. So we've tried BLE, we've tried Soft-AP, both of them very slick with the Espressif built-in app. So we're good there. Again, BLE, the trade-off is it's huge, but it's probably the slickest integration. Soft-AP is a little smaller, about 100 and what did we say, 150K? And that's not a little bit. That's significantly smaller. That's 150K of application code that you could have. But could trip up some customers. Again, I know I'm probably speaking to a largely technical group where it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but having delivered these pucks to people and having them use Soft-AP, they're gonna mess it up. Okay, and so now all it says is like, use this code again. And so I don't know where this is what I was trying to say, which is like, what is this going to do? Like, I'm going to do that. It gave me a QR code that I do what with now? Like, that's the problem. Because if I go to provision new device in the Soft-AP, QR code is invalid. Like, what is it? What do I do from here? Like, it doesn't make any sense. What if I just, like, camera, like, let me get that out of the way, and just, like, QR code. Search web in Safari. No, see, that's not going to do it either. Yeah, that just takes me to a Google search. That's dumb. All right, Sparky's got an idea. Let's go with it. Let's see if the Soft-AP is showing up in our... I don't think it was. It will, because it was if def'd out. So where are we? No. Scanning for, yeah, so that's definitely not showing up in Wi-Fi networks. Bluetooth, we're doing next. Nope. Nothing in Bluetooth. Which also makes sense because it's that code's also if def'd out. All right, so Wi-Fi provisioning service started with. Let's try So try to go back to the Play Store here. And let's see, ESP, I just did a search for Espressive. And let's just see, maybe there's another app. I don't think so. There's ESP, there's IoT Espressive, there's ESP Soft-AP provisioning, which we've already installed, ESP Mesh, which is not what we're looking for. Is it? I don't think so. Yeah, configuring and building mesh networks, that's not what we're looking for. IoT Espressive, app to control devices. Yeah, I don't think that's what it is either. And the code doesn't scan. Let's... I'm going to go ahead and unplug it for now. Let's look at include Wi-Fi provisioning. Let's look at scheme underscore console. Let's just look in the header file and see if it gives us any clues. Scheme that can be used by manager for provisioning over console. Yes. And then in the C file, there is nothing in here that does that for us. So I wonder, here we go, console config, start Protocom console. Failed to start Protocom if there's an error. So let's go, oh, I unplugged it. Let's, maybe, let's do this. Let's do flash and monitor. I just had a thought. And that is, there's several serial ports on the ESP32. So right now we're going through an FTDI chip. So the FTDI chip translates our USB that we're plugged into our computer to serial to talk to the COM port. And I wonder if it's just a collision of, it wants you to do this over one of the other serial UART ports on the device that I don't have exposed. So let's dig into this just a little more. Because right here, this is what I was looking for. Like, we are definitely Protocom console start, like we are starting something. And you can see here, provisioning started with service name. And then right here, this is the scheme. And so like this set config service, if we look at this, like there's nothing in here. It just returns okay. So let's briefly look at, let's learn something. Okay. I don't think this is what we looked at. Transport example, no. BLE, no. And then, so this is what I was trying to say earlier. It's like, hey, here's an example with Soft-AP with security 1. Here's an example with BLE, security 0. And, oh, we didn't add the console version. So this Protocom seems to be transport agnostic. So Protocom console start, again, is going to be right in here. Console, no. Protocom, no, it was session start, right? Not console start. Oh, Protocom console start. Which is coming from where? From Protocom console. I want to see the contents of Protocom console.h. I feel like we're getting into, yeah, this Protocom console. Like, where's that? Let's look in dev ESP IDF. See if we can't find this. Components. Is there a Protocom component? Protocom. And transports, Protocom console.h. Oops. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. Protocom console start. Let's find the source code for this. Source. Transports. Protocom console. Here we go. Initializing UART on port. That should have been logged. So do we see that? It would be a debug, which we should be outputting. So I don't see that. UART driver install. Yeah. So this is definitely trying to use a UART, but which UART? Okay. But we never see this initializing UART on port. It would be a debug output. Yep, nothing in there about that. Okay. So we never call this Protocom console task, because that's what we really need to know. And I wonder, okay, let's keep. I think we're making progress. It's slow going, but we're getting there. Let's come into menu config and see if perhaps we need to turn something on. So let's come into component config. Is there like a Protocom? I hate that it's not like entirely in. Okay. Driver. Okay, not what I want. This is where the VS Code version's a little better, because we can just search. I think we're going to do that. Yeah, okay. Let's exit out here and let's do Control EG. And it'll open up our menu config in VS Code. And then let's just do a search for Protocom. No, nothing. UART. Default UART 0. Okay. So where I think we're going to land on this is, it appears that, yes, you could do this via UART somehow. I'm not going to invest any more time into it, because that's not a way that I will have users configure this. As I said it out loud. So more background, the Puck product, e-paper display. By the way, the Capitals are on a roll right now, like 22, 7, and 4. domination win last night. It was beautiful. One thing I haven't mentioned is, yes, I use Soft-AP to configure the current product, but I created an Electron app that's cross-platform because on this there runs a shell that like a serial shell that I created. It's a component that I created to run on there, which basically creates like a shell prompt if you connect to it over serial, and you can do things like test the display, see what the network configuration is, get version information. And so that is a way that I wanted to have as a fallback to configure this. Now, that said, Sparky, I think we're going back to your idea. I don't think we need unified provisioning for that. I can still include that portion of the firmware that like creates that prompt and says like, hey, select your SSID and enter your password. I could probably just code those up myself and then use the raw ESPIDF function calls to store those credentials. I don't think I need the unified provisioning for that because I think it's clear that it's not fully documented. And it may not even work because I may not have access to the UART that I need because I'm using it for log output and stuff. Why am I Wi-Fi provisioning? Let's just look through these one more time. Max Wi-Fi result scans. Yeah. I don't see. Yep. Okay. Spark, you say you think people are more used to that from other IoT devices. Which part? The Soft-AP one where they have to connect to a network? Is that the one that you're talking about? Because that's like smart device sitting here, smart speaker. Like that's how I set that up. I've got a couple of smart outlets, same way. Yeah, Soft-AP is sort of the way. It's the very common way, and so. Yep. All right. I'm giving up on the console unified provisioning. It's not documented enough. As a last ditch effort, let's do expressive unified provisioning over console and see if anybody maybe has written a like a blog post or something. Yeah, I've read this before. This is just the. Yep. Okay. All right. Well. So, where that leaves us is Soft-AP and the BLE approach to provisioning are pretty slick. I need to decide if the 150K, well, here's the deal. Because, this is what's great about it, because it's a component, and really, when we look at the code, let's go ahead and clean up some of these windows here. Sorry, Scheme Console, we tried. The code is pretty much the same with the exception of a few spots of do this if it's Soft-AP, do this if it's BLE. So we can just go with BLE. Again, I like the single. If I'm gonna have people download an app and instructions anyway, I might as well have them remain in the app instead of having to go out and mess with their Wi-Fi settings. I'm giving up 150K of flash space for that. And so what we'll do is we'll start writing our other business logic for the actual product. And if we need to, if we start to come up on the boundary of like what we can fit into our partitions that we're going to lay out, then we'll just change it. We'll change it to, we'll reclaim 150K of flash by switching to the Soft-AP approach. Because I'm on a crunch for time, again, I'm doing all this and then I'll share with the community, just like the generic dev board with no business code on it, right? It'll just be like a sample that people, if they want to get started and have like a a product polished shell to work from, I'll share that. And then people can choose whatever they want, and they can just download the Espressif apps. What I'm planning on doing, because of the time that I need to deliver this in, is I'm probably going to take the code for both the Android and iOS app for provisioning that Espressif has provided, send them off to a contract company, and just ask them to skin it to, as a start, just skin it with our logo and color theme and stuff like that. And then I'll push product specific apps to both of those stores is kind of what I'm thinking. Because I don't want to, buy a puck holder and then download this Espressif BLE provisioning app. I mean, to be honest though, I don't know that people would really notice or care. I say that, like, there's nothing when I launch, for example, ESP BLE provisioning, like, it's pretty neutral. Like, it's got like this purpley color to it, but it just says provision new device. It has the Espressif logo, but I don't know that people really care or notice. Like, this is a one-time step to get your device set up. I don't know that it'll depend on the cost. How much will it cost for somebody to skin this device for me, to skin the apps for me, and then put them into the store? So I think that's where we're at. So decision today is we're going to go with we're going to move forward with BLE. Next steps for me, I'm going to end the stream here because it's going to be a lot of me staring at the screen going forward here, is I'm going to read through this entire example code line by line, understand every single thing that is happening throughout the process, change out any, I've mentioned it several times now, remove any of these ESP error check macros that I want to try and gracefully fail on instead of just full scale aborting and resetting the device. And then I will component this off and not leave it in the main here. I'll include it wrapped up in a CPP, C++ wrapper, so that it can be testable. And the other problem that we need to solve as part of this is what happens when they provision. Because again, as a reminder for those that may be just joining in on this process, provisioning to ESP is I've got credentials, whether they're the right credentials, like the right password to your SSID, or even your SSID, like you could choose a neighbor's SSID, enter the wrong password, that's considered provisioned, which is obviously a problem. And even the app itself says, like, when it notices it can't connect, it says, like, factory reset your device. And as we discussed yesterday, we don't have a factory reset option because there are no buttons on the device. And so that will leave us in a bind. We need another way to wipe credentials if it can't connect. And something that I was going to implement, but I didn't quite get around to on the puck, was to help with that. Because there are no buttons, like some sort of track of how many times have I not been able to connect to the Wi-Fi, and then just wipe its own credentials and just assume that it's been changed. That way people can immediately go back into a configuring state versus having to do some other steps to wipe the Wi-Fi credentials. Because if you think about it, let's say, at least during the provisioning process, you enter the correct SSID and the correct password, and you connect, and it gets out and it does what it's supposed to do. In my case, it displays cool things on the display. And then 2 weeks from now, somebody changes the Wi-Fi password. When that happens, it's going to come in, it's going to say, I'm provisioned, I've got credentials, and then it's going to try to connect, and it's going to fail. And in that case, it could fail for a couple reasons. The power could be out. A kid might have unplugged the access point. So that's still, the power is out, but not total power. I mean, these are things you ask, like, did the power go out recently? And people might say, like, no. It's like, but my kid was unplugging stuff. Like, so it could be because the power's out. It could be because somebody unplugged it. It could be that the router experienced a hiccup and was down at the time that the device tried to connect. There's lots of reasons that aren't necessarily bad credentials that it could fail to connect to the AP. Your local Wi-Fi access point, and deciding how to handle that. And so let's just say that happens. how do we get out of that? We need to have a process for, if you change your Wi-Fi password, here are the steps you need to do. It's likely going to involve, I don't know, we'll have to think about that. Like, what is it? Because again, there's no buttons. That's the hardest part about this. There's no buttons on the device. And so there's no way to say like, oh, just, hold a button down and plug it into a charger. Like that doesn't work. And so we have to get creative in how we solve that. An idea that just came to mind, I'll just throw out, is because it's battery, like this is not connected to anything. It has like a 6-month battery life on it. When you are connected to power, we can do other interesting things. Like we could connect to power and say, try to connect to the Wi-Fi, and if connecting to the Wi-Fi fails a certain number of times, clear the credentials, and then that allows them to set it up again. Another thing we could do, I don't like that as much because there's reasons that we could get into that state that we don't want to do that. Another option would be when it's connected to power, BLE is active, and through our app, we could connect to it and change the credentials. That's also something that we could play around with. So we'll look into that. These are problems we got to solve. Like these are the, gory details you get into building a product versus just building some, personal maker project where it doesn't really matter. Like if I change my Wi-Fi password, I just plug this thing in and wipe it and, start over with hard-coded credentials. Like you don't have to solve any of these, like, edge case customer scenarios that you'll invariably have to deal with. So that's going to do it for the stream today. Sparky, as always, thanks for dropping by. Really appreciate the support. Anybody else that joined, thank you for watching. And anybody that ends up watching this after the fact on YouTube, thanks so much for your support as well. And again, if you have questions about any of this, I'm learning as I go through. I do have, experience writing code and firmware and backend. So I'm not a beginner to this, but I'm also newer to the ESP32 ecosystem and porting my existing product from a Particle P1 module, which, sorry, I know I'm trying to wrap up, but I just got to get this in. This week, I got an email from Particle saying, notice, because of the global silicon shortage, our lead times may be up to 50, they said up to 40 weeks, but when you go and look at their lead time chart, some of their products, including ones that I would use, have lead times of 56 weeks. That is over a year. I'm worried for Particle. Like that's an unacceptable lead time for people that are building products based on your chips. So like if I needed to get an order of like 500 pucks with that chip right now, I can't. And my lead time is a year to get those chips. I'm out of business. Like that's unsustainable. So that's news out of Particle this week. Really glad that a year ago I decided to make the switch to ESP32 and get off the Particle P1 chip. That's really paying off now. I looked at stock levels for the room chips that I'm using, the ESP32 chips. Tens of thousands in stock, standard lead time still listed as 2 weeks. So another thing you have to consider when you're making products versus just maker projects is the logistics of actually getting components to put these things together. So that is really going to do it. I appreciate everybody watching. Again, if you have any questions, stick them down in the comments. I'm happy to try and answer those as best I can. Otherwise, until next time, I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day and week.